So Numberphile just dropped a video about the fifth postulate, and it's nonsense. It's just nonsense, okay? So the basic concept of the fifth postulate is you have a straight line. Notice that. You have a straight line and a point, and you drop another straight line through it, okay? And there's only one that will be parallel to it, okay? And notably, we were working in a flat space. Okay, flat space. There's straight lines which extend infinitely. They don't terminate, okay? Now, the classic problem with this is that it can't be derived from the previous four postulates of Euclid. But the entire attempt to do this is external to Euclid himself, so what the fuck, right? Euclid never claimed that it could be derived from the previous four, and it's not even necessarily the case that he put them in any specific order, okay? It's been assumed that he did, and it's been assumed that he wanted that the fifth one should be provable from the previous ones. Like, whatever one you're at, you should be able to prove it from the previous ones. There's no reason to assume this. This is not how Euclid's Elements is arranged. It's just not. It's not how it's structured. He doesn't claim it's structured that way. He's just throwing shit out there. Like, here you go. This works, this works, this works. There's probably, to a degree, that he could see, that he could perceive. He probably did arrange things vaguely in that fashion as well as he could, because that's nice. But that's never a stated goal in the way that it's written. And, you know, like, what are we doing? Anyway, the supposed violations of this. Oh yeah, by the way, it's also very interesting that this is worried about when modern mathematics knows that it is subject to incompleteness. So axioms, definitions, postulates, whatever you want to call them, are not necessarily provable within the framework of the system anyway. Okay? So you already have this hypocrisy at play right now, and we've been sitting on that for 90 years. Okay? 91 years. We've been sitting on that, and nobody really seems to give a shit. So that's interesting. But if we go forward here, she's going to show us sphere, right? So there's two problems here. Okay. Well, let's see. Is there a good picture of this? So here she notes that the surface of a sphere is a two-dimensional space. Okay. That's true. But it doesn't qualify for the space that Euclid is talking about here, because two things happen. Okay, arguably you can get sort of straight lines in a sense. Like if you on a sphere, perfect sphere, and you walk in one direction all the way around it, right? You could claim that that's a straight line, maybe. But that sphere is embedded in a Euclidean space, so it's still actually a curved line, right? And one of the requirements is that it has to be a straight line. Okay? Here, let me actually pull this up. What is happening here? Here we go. Okay, so if a line segment intersects two straight... So this is an English translation, but it does effectively say this in the original Greek. If a line segment intersects two straight lines forming two interior angles on the side that are less than two right angles, then the two lines, if extended indefinitely, okay, so both of these are a problem. These are not straight lines, okay? We even call them great circles, because we recognize that it's a circle. And they don't extend indefinitely. They come back around and hit each other. So, these two properties are not met. This is not a counterexample to the fifth postulate. And then over here we have hyperbolic disks, right? So you can drop a straight line through the center, but if it doesn't hit the center, it is, and she specifically notes this, it is the arc of a circle. Circles aren't straight. Not straight lines. So a hyperbolic disc violates this one. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why? Why are you illiterate? This doesn't meet the qualifications that are laid out. Right? In a situation where you actually have two straight lines that extend indefinitely, and they are, yeah, you set it up so that there's a line segment intersecting them so that the angles on the same side are less than two right angles, then they will meet, right? That's what this is, right? If these two angles sum to less than pi on 2 or 180 degrees or however the hell you want to talk about it, if they sum to less than that, these lines will intersect. And you shouldn't have to say this, but in flat space, because that's the only place straight lines can exist. And that's the only place straight lines can extend indefinitely. Well, more than one straight line that are potentially parallel. Notice on a hyperbolic disc, you can get an infinite number of straight lines, but they all intersect here. There is absolutely no possibility of parallel straight lines. There's zero possibility of that. The only way you can get potentially parallel straight lines, you break it, because once you come off, you get a curve. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. These are not counterexamples to Euclid's fifth postulate. And it's amazing to me that nobody fucking sees this. They're, oh yeah, we're just... No. 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 And this was, as far as I can tell, this was broken in like the 1800s. Like almost everything else. Right, so we've got criticism here. Let's see. Well, and notably, it's the Arab mathematicians, the Muslim mathematicians who introduced algebra, the ones who introduced incompleteness in the first place, or reintroduced incompleteness. They're the ones that are having troubles with this. And notice how much later they are. Right, so it says at some point, from the beginning, the postulate came under attack. But the earliest one that they're showing is like 800 years after Euclid. So this claim is nonsense from the beginning. If you have an earlier one, show it. I don't really care enough to look that up, but I mean right here, if you're going to make that claim, support it. Right? And this is Wikipedia, granted. Whatever problems you have with Wikipedia, that's fine. But you can come in, if you find one, put it in there. If you can find one contemporary with Euclid, drop it in there. Because that's worth noting. But yeah, so like here, you have hyperbolic geometry. You don't get straight lines in hyperbolic geometry. Spherical geometry. You don't get straight lines in spherical geometry. No. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're doing it wrong. What in the world is going on here? Also hypocrisy, because you know that your math doesn't work that way anyway.